Welcome, everybody, to the Steve and Bobby Show. My name is Steve Williams, and I'm here with Bobby Bliatu. Of course, we are here every week for you guys to try to get you guys the best and most informed, or at least what we
informed
consider
by us and what we think about what's going on.
Better. That's a better word of saying it.
And we give you the opportunity to tell us if we're wrong or we're right, or you agree or you
but we
don't.
always
Let us
right.
know. But I mean, seriously, though, we've covered a lot today.
Yeah, we
had
did.
some good shows. If this is the first one you're tuning into, check the first one. Check our
Yeah.
interview also with Rafael Abitia, Brown Berets. It's great stuff out there.
He's a lawyer,
right.
educator,
Right. And
smart
never giving
guy,
up the
man.
fight for the things that we've been fighting for a very long time, and not letting what's happening overshadow what needs to get done.
Yeah.
Right. And right now, this is the thing that the one time we'll give the day of the light or whatever. 10 minutes in the limelight for what has happened, because I think these people don't deserve it, but it needs to be addressed to show the state of affairs
Of what
we're
happened.
doing today, of what had actually happened to us yesterday, right?
Yeah. So we had there's a couple things that actually led to this. There were a number of groups, of course, that were involved in yesterday's overtake of the Capitol, because it was I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I know that the news media is calling it a coup. It's not a coup, because to me a coup is a military coup. I mean, you could call it a coup, but I don't know if you can. Well, whatever. I just know that they overtake the Capitol, which is freaking insane to me. But there is, if you guys remember, when all of these Proud Boys have been coming in, right? Not just Proud Boys, but Trump supporters, all this have been coming in all week for the past 2 weeks and getting up all these hotels, and they have been staying in Washington, D.C. They have been protesting actually there. They have been, there have been
marching in the streets of D.C. with the guns going through the
every single
hood,
night. Yes.
Telling everybody. I mean, there's so many things that you can actually say. This one would be candid with, exactly how I feel, because I've been quiet on my Facebook about all their stuff and the things that they're doing.
I don't say much about Proud Boys either.
Look, we've been watching this happen and unfold for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And setting up this foundation of, okay, we're going to go attack pedophilia, or we're going to attack, our rights, and we're going to call Democrats or anyone out there socialists or communists. And they had set this up, saying that there's only one way that Biden can win, is he cheats, and he's going to have to commit fraud. And when they say that, and they set it up, and then when it happens that Biden
it sounds
wins,
as though there's some legitimacy to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because how many times did many of you hear from other people saying the only way that Biden can win is if he cheats, and then when Biden wins, they say, "Oh, see, he cheated.
He cheated. Told you."
They set it up mentally, socially. I mean, when you want to talk about government control, that's what that was. They had set it up right in front of you, told you what it was going to be.
Yep.
I mean, at the beginning of this race, these conspiracy theorists, and I don't want to say the names, right?
Yeah.
These followers are always saying that in this race here, President Trump, he's going to be attacked for being a racist. Before people started attacking him for being a racist, before
That's because they knew he was a racist.
Yes. And they were calling it out. Oh, they're going to say he's racist. They're going to say his moves are racist.
Why he says racist stuff and does policies that are racist.
Right. But before he did it, they said that the Democrats are going to complain about him being racist. They're going to make it up. So when he does something racist and the Democrats say racist, there's a base that goes,
Told you.
they knew.
Told you.
They must be in control. See, I mean, it's like, come on. You know someone's going to do bad. Just because you predict that they're going to do bad doesn't make you, all-knowing and say, we knew he would too.
Yeah.
We wouldn't cry racist. We wouldn't say racist if he wasn't going to be a racist, if he wasn't racist, right?
And his the chief, I guess, I always like to use this idea of brown shirts, because brown shirts, and if you're not familiar with brown shirts and Nazism and in Nazi Germany in the 1930s and 40s, when the Nazis were trying to take over, because they were a very socialist, liberal country back in the day, right? Germany was. And when the Nazis tried to take over, right, they had a lot of opposition within the country. So in order to change that, what a lot of the Nazis did, the Nazi Party did, was they just deputized people to walk around the streets, and they called them brown shirts, and they basically just walked around the streets and clubbed people into submission until they started winning. Oh, you're not going to vote for Hitler? Really? You're not? Okay, we're going to come and visit you tonight. I think there's a form of that being done here, or it was being done, and it started with Trump and his inauguration time, right, with these Proud Boy organizations. And there's a lot of different ones, but the Proud Boys are the big ones, right, because they're all over the place. And one of their leaders, he's really only a lieutenant. He's not really a leader there. He's actually a lieutenant there. His name is Henry Enrique Taro. And the reason why I'm saying his name, I don't even want to say his name. But the reason why I'm saying his name, because this is actually kind of important. Because he actually, as he was in Washington, D.C., they have been rioting and protesting within the city of Washington, D.C. for about the last week or two. And if you guys remember, these guys went into a black churches, and took a lot of these signs down, right? They tore these signs down and started burning them. Well, Enrique Tarrio actually said on his live stream, well, I did it. I was the one that did it. Come and get me if you want to come and get me. You guys know where I'm at. Police, hint, hint. So what they did was they went and got him. But I want you to see the video that actually kind of led up to it. So we're going to put this first video on. Let's take this first video and we'll talk about it on the other side.
Let's see how law and order they actually are.
Law and order.
There we go. Hey, Tony, you got this? Tony, you got this?
There, just spread it
So the reason why that's kind of significant, because even though it doesn't really seem like it's important, it actually is, because what it did was when the churches where they went to all these churches. There was several different, listen, Washington, D.C. is pretty predominantly African American, right? The city is. So they went to all these churches and tore all these down. That was just one of them, but there were a lot of them that were tore down. So the law enforcement, police officers that said, okay, look, we're going to have to go get these guys. I mean, it's on camera. It's obviously that these guys are breaking laws. They're doing things that they're not supposed to do. They're destructing, personal property. It's illegal to do that. Just like I can't go, if I see if my neighbor has a Trump flag and I don't like the Trump flag, I can't just go over there, take it and burn it in the street. That's actually illegal. I can burn a Trump flag that I buy. I can go, right? I can do that, but I can't take someone else's property and burn it the way they did.
It's a natural sign of bullies that are out there
Yeah.
doing things that they can get away with. It's your
Yep.
internet gangster and all that other stuff. They want to act tough. They're going to go out there. They're going to do their things. When they can jump somebody like they've done in the past, they jump them. It's never, these are the groups that the Proud Boys.
And
man
they're
on man,
pro-police.
mano a mano, law and order.
Yeah.
So they want to make fun of what they want to talk about, protesting and destruction. So they did these things.
Yep.
And so he's like, I'm going to get fined. So
Oh,
what? Come
so
get me.
what?
Come
Come
get me.
get me.
So what is he being charged with now?
So they found that he had magazines on him, which is in
Loaded.
Washington, D.C. Yeah, that's a felony. So you can't have, high-powered magazines. I think they were AK-47 magazines. And then, so I don't know if they're going to drop that. I don't know, because remember, these are guys that there are a lot of closely ties with law enforcement and the Proud Boys, okay? There's a lot of ties there. We saw that in a lot of these protests all over the country. So I don't know if that will stick. So because of what we've been seeing. But they can't deny the fact that they were burning flags. That is, I think that's a misdemeanor. I don't know. I don't think it's a felony, but I know it's a
It
misdemeanor.
won't be much, but then when you start going around
Yeah.
proud with your guns
Yeah.
loaded, breaking the law there,
So
you're in trouble. And if you ain't got the funds, and watch, they're going to do a fundraiser, GoFundMe to defend him and all that
Raise
other
somebody.
stuff. Yeah.
but the thing here, I think, is the fact here is a lot of these Proud Boys in D.C. the other day were furious that they arrested him.
Yep.
I mean, so the Law and Order pro-police organization, right? Because this is what they put on their website. You go to a Proud Boy website, all over it is, we love police. Police are right because of the BLM movement, right? Because the BLM movement was defund the police. They didn't like that. So now, okay, we're all pro-police. Police love us. They're going to help us, like remove barricades and let us go to the Capitol. But anyway, this got really, really crazy in D.C. We're going to show you a really quick video of police and Proud Boys literally fight, almost hand fighting. Check this out.
Fuck, this is American blood! fucking American blood.
So these are the law and order guys. So we went from pro-police to anti-police.
Well, I mean, come on, they're being wronged by the police. The
Yeah.
police are hurting them
Yes.
because they're protesting.
It's wrong.
Because they're trying to, speak out and fight for their right, and
Yep.
and now they're upset right away because the police are
could they do
stopping them from
this?
doing this.
How can they stop him? I'm for you. I support you. Why wouldn't you support me when I commit felonies and misdemeanors? That doesn't make sense. This is the kind of, I'm telling you, this is the way they think.
No, I know. And,
This is the way
and
they
they're right.
think.
And the thing is,
Yeah, they're very right.
they feel that they're right.
Yeah.
Because they're being wronged.
Yeah.
But people where their children are shot by the police and they want to protest, they're not
They're
right.
not right.
Right. They're not. Those people, why are they protesting? That
No.
cop had every right to shoot that 12-year-old boy.
Yep.
So,
Tamir Rice.
What's going on? Why are you protesting? Why are you guys protesting?
Yeah, I
Right?
mean,
Why
why would
boys
you be
out there
so mad at the
protesting?
police because they arrested?
Right.
What?
What? I mean, why are you taking out on
They
these cops
just
here?
arrested him.
Why are you taking on the cops? You're talking about an election that happened in Pennsylvania or in Georgia where that fraud. It's not the police's fault. Why are you taking on the police?
Yeah.
Because the police are trying to keep you in order? What is going on? You think about it. I mean, how is it that this group can get so upset and call, us who's fighting for where our community members are wronged, our citizens are wronged, and die?
Yeah.
And we're called snowflakes
Yeah.
for complaining?
We're the snowflakes.
Right.
Yeah. So, the funny thing about this is with all the protests that were going on, okay, with all the things that were going on, mind you, there were thousands of groups in the streets. Now, not every one of the groups were doing that, right? But there were a ton of protests happening in Washington, D.C. for the past 2 weeks because they have been building up for the finale, right? The finale was Mike Pence's January 6th, right, of the, the certification of the electorates, right, of the states, which was yesterday, right? So there's two things here. The Capitol yesterday, you guys all know by now that the Capitol was overran. There's no one here that does not know that. So the Capitol yesterday was overran, and the chief reason as to why they were overran, the reason why they gave, the law enforcement, was the fact that we were not prepared. We didn't know. We had no idea. Okay, that's bullshit. You knew because there were thousands of people in the streets in Washington, D.C. prior to this. You guys just a week ago arrested a Proud Boy individual, and they were protesting all over the place.
They rented every hotel room.
You guys had a 0%
It was done. You
capacity.
knew they would be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they can get permits or whatever.
Yeah.
You knew they would be there. I mean, we've been calling this out for a long time.
Months
that
on this
that
show.
The 6th and the 20th is going to be crazy, right? But I mean, it's not like the Proud Boys and these groups were hiding it.
No.
They weren't hiding it at all. They would be there, and you didn't think they'd be dangerous. I mean, you've seen them try to whichever group it is that's associated with these folks, trying to kidnap the governor of Michigan. Come
Yeah.
on, the intent has always been there. But you did just arrest someone days before.
Yep.
You did spray a bunch of people with mace. You knew it would be a dangerous situation, so you had to have a handle of it, right? And it
You
to be
had
fair.
barriers up. You had barriers up. Do you think that the barriers were going to stop people? Like they had a carnival going on a ride?
There's no excuse. Does taking a selfie with them mean you were trying to stop it? I laugh sometimes about it because there's no other reaction but to laugh from the shock of actually how this was treated or how people cannot see the hypocrisy in what is happening.
And I want you guys to see, okay, I want you guys to remember, anybody out there, what you guys thought during the BLM movement, right? The BLM movement was a movement because of minorities of all different ethnicities, right? Because it's not just African Americans that are getting killed out there. There are tons. There are Hispanics, there's Asians, there's all. There was a kid, an Indian American kid from India that was killed just the other day in New York or New Jersey. So this is a systemic problem, and BLM was addressing that issue of police brutality. That was what that fight was for. It wasn't about an election. We had we did have election marches back when Trump was elected. We weren't burning junk down. We were just marching, right? The Women's March was the largest march in the history of actually in the world. It's one of the largest marches. It went everywhere. It was in Australia and Britain, and it was everywhere, Canada. So look, you can't compare the two. So I want you guys to take a look at this video, because the reason why I brought this up, the Enrique situation, the Proud Boys situation, because when you see this, and as a veteran, okay, serving my country, I've served my country for almost 2 full decades. I served my country here. And when I see stuff like this, and when I see what I'm going to show you right now, it's embarrassing of the fact, not only the fact that it's embarrassing, but the fact that there are veterans there doing that. There were 4 people that got killed there yesterday when I show you this video. There's 4. One of them was a female Air Force veteran who was trying to storm. She was literally breaking into the Capitol. Now take a look at this here.
Inside the chambers right now, by the way, it looks as if one of our producers there says the House is actually back in recess and members have been told to stay seated. Over in the Senate, where reporters aren't even allowed to have their phones in the chamber, but one of ours does, Capitol Police have told senators to stay away from the doors in the Senate chamber. They are instructed to stay put. Many of them are on their phones down in the well. They escorted out Vice President Pence, who is in the line of succession, who obviously is a more high-profile leader who brings with him much more protection when he comes to the Capitol. Other senators are still in the chamber. In fact, one aide is now just telling me, this guy's over a text, that members are being told to, quote, get under the chairs in the House chamber. This is a aide to a member of Congress who tells me again, members are being told, quote, get under the chairs in the House chamber. You might be wondering, why can't we show you images of that? Because every time the House goes into recess, they turn off the cameras. And so we can't see that.
The situation has reached a dire point where the U.S. Capitol is now in lockdown, both the House and Senate.
That is the Capitol of a superpower. That's what that was. That's the U.S. Capitol, Washington, D.C., overran very easily. Very easily. It was not hard. So one or two things there's only 1 or 2 things here. Either law enforcement leadership, not actual law enforcement, because it's not, don't blame the ground pounders, right? Law enforcement leadership failed, that's 1, or they allowed it to happen, that's 2. Those are the only 2. I don't want to hear the excuse that there were too many people, because that's a failure in leadership. Okay, in the Marine Corps, where I served, something like that happened, there would be a lot less Marines handling crowds of that size. Just ridiculous. Another thing, there are quick ready reaction forces, QRFs, Marine detachment called 8th and I, that are not even a block away. Why were they not activated? Why were they not activated? Nancy Pelosi actually activated the Maryland National Guard. She activated it. They were there. They were at the airport there. They were not activated. They were told to stand down. All the assets were not activated. There are pictures of law enforcement removing barriers for these individuals to walk through. Okay? This was allowed. This was allowed. It was allowed by leadership. And it's a failure because not only of the fact that it was allowed, it's a failure because no one else figured out that it was allowed. That's a failure in itself as well, right? Because when you're breaking windows and you're destroying government property, who pays for it? The taxpayer, right? All you out there pay for that. Every one of y'all. And anyone that has ever served this country, that has served the United States government in any capacity, whether you served it in a governmental capacity, whether you were a clerk doing paper in a governmental capacity, if you served this country in any way and you were there doing crap like that, that's sedition. What was happening there is sedition. You've committed treason is what you're doing. I saw a picture yesterday of a Confederate flag inside the U.S. Capitol. Inside of it, there was a photo of it. Never, ever has there been a Confederate flag on the grounds of the U.S. Capitol. The last time the U.S. Capitol was overtaken was in 1812 or 1814 during the War of the British when they burned it to the ground. That's the last time. No enemy of the state has ever stepped foot, because those are enemies of the state. Those they didn't have American flags. They had Trump flags. There's a difference. There's a difference of the two, right? These are not Americans. These are Trump cult followers. Okay? These are Hitler followers that went into the state capitol, demeaned and defaced a property of the United States government that belongs to all of us. So if anybody even thinks remotely that that is okay, I don't mind Trump supporters marching in the streets.
You have the right to protest.
You have a right to protest.
You have the right to voice your opinion
Right.
and do all those things. And it's sad that it has to come here.
Yep.
A lot of things that happened yesterday were wrong. Should those people have been killed? No. You know, it should not have happened as well, because they should have been prepared. So being shot was wronged, right? But the actions taken doesn't justify being killed. Okay, I don't think they should have been killed. You know, accidents could have happened, and those accidents are inexcusable. Those are all the same fights we've been fighting for a long time. There's no real big difference there. The difference is that we are being shunned for what we have done, and they're not. They were allowed to do this stuff, and there are a lot of people who wanted to voice their opinions that have been prevented to do so. You know, we laugh about it and joke about it. Would I've ever been able to run in there and be in Nancy Pelosi's chair?
Never.
If I was even elected to Congress, would I have been able to sit in her
you
chair
brought
that way?
that was a good point.
But, and
What are you doing here?
It shows you right in our
It's
faces.
entitlement.
Well, it's our system that's in place shows who you protect yourself from the beginning, who's the threat and who is not. We've seen the BLM protests that happened in many areas, and how many military or law enforcement were present to control the crowds. And we saw the lack of it yesterday when it was a certain demographic, okay? And that was built into our system, purposefully or not. It was there, and it was shown yesterday. Because now, if you look at it today, I think they have more barriers up. They have military personnel out there. They're doing different things. People have resigned from their positions. So that was a complete failure, but it was also a complete expose of the systemic inequities and inequalities that are, very well present in security.
I want to
It was a
confess.
threat.
I want to confess something today, right? So, we talked about this on our last show off air, and I was talking to Bobby about this, and Bobby's like, I don't know if you remember this conversation. You were telling me, I don't know what's going to happen January 6th. Do you remember that conversation?
No, I do, because
were sitting right there.
we knew we were going to take 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to take 2 weeks off, and we're coming in the day after the 6th.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's a lot of things that are going to be happening, and is this going to be the conversation? Because I had no clue,
But I wasn't.
but not surprised.
I thought, I don't know, I'm kind of weird. Maybe I
mentioned
watched too
someone
many
might
movies.
die.
I'm thinking, you ever watch these movies, right? You ever watch these American movies, right? What's the one where Morgan Freeman is the president, and they come and they
Olympus Has
protect
Fallen
him,
and, yeah.
all those, right? I just had that there was. This is going to sound stupid. Literally a button where this whole thing could just shut. There's no way no one's going to overrun the Capitol, the U.S. To me, it just sounds ridiculous. That anyone could do something like that. Really, it did to me. So when you mention that, I giggle to myself a little bit, and I'm like, come on, man, ain't nobody, come on. I mean, you got a QRF, you got a quick reaction force there, you got the Air Force there, you got, come on, man, ain't nobody gonna overrun the U.S. Capitol. And that's what I would have told you, had you had said, had you been more specific and said, Steve, I'm kind of worried that they may overrun the U.S. Capitol. I'd have been like, come on, bro. Stop. You need to stop with that mess. They ain't gonna overrun For that to happen, at the time it was laughable, even to the point to where I thought that there would be anything, even a protest that large. There were a lot of people there. They keep saying there was millions of people. There weren't millions of people there, but there were at least 200,000 people there, at minimum. There were 200,000 people, and that stormed that building was probably 10 or 15,000 of those, right, or 20,000. Could be 10% that were storming that building. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that the other 90% that were there were protesting the fact they really believe that Donald Trump should be president. I think they're out of their damn minds, but there's a lot that are not responsible for that. But there's a lot that are.
Right. Well, again, it starts with the leadership. The president calling people to stand up.
That's right.
Calling the people to go there and stand strong. Our elected leadership that is
He spoke,
objecting.
He spoke at one of the events. Donald Trump spoke at one of the events.
Before the night before, he
Yeah.
spoke it and wanted Pence to
And the
stay,
son was
do all the
speaking
right,
in the morning.
stuff. Right. So the thing is this, is that they need to, look, politicians are going to go for re-election. Politicians are setting up their next election cycle already. They don't want to destroy their base. So they know that they can speak an objection, but I really can't believe they really want Donald Trump another 4 years either. But they can't say that.
Yeah.
And because these things are presented before them, they're going to go through because
They want the
know,
base.
they know
Yeah.
they are not going to be successful.
Yeah.
I compare them at these moments like internet gangsters.
Yeah.
You call someone out, but you never have to face them face to face.
The keyboard guys.
Right, and these guys are doing the same, these politicians are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're speaking out all this stuff because they know they cannot win, but they know they will rile up their base. But when you rile up the base like that, you get what happened yesterday. And because I know that they're going to play the game of politics, because I know those things are going to happen, you can't call out the Marines, the QRFs beforehand, because now you got these politicians are saying, no, they're Proud Boys or they're base, they're safe, they're not going to do anything.
They're not going to do anything.
They're law and order people. They won't do anything. So if I call these people out, then that means you are not trusting them.
I don't know. I'm going to ask you this, and I don't know if this is a question that you may know. I may be putting you in the dark here. I guess I can answer my own question, because I guess Marines are controlled by the federal government. And I know that the president has full access and control of the Marine Corps. I do know that because we're
He
taught
could have
that.
called them out.
So he could have, but he could have also told them not to go.
Well, I was told that their presence after the fact was called by Pence. So
The National Guard was.
Yeah.
I'm more concerned about the QRF, which are about, I'm telling you, I trained at 8th and I because I did embassy duty. I trained there.
They probably were watching it as it happened.
I'm telling you, at the QRF, there's a ready force. Literally, you have to be in boots and utes, and boots and utilities. Always, 2,500, always ready, at the ready, constantly. It's actually a duty. You know what I mean? Like you see the Marines that are standing there. It's actually a duty. There's an actual duty of a QRF there, which has me wondering, knowing that the Capitol was being overran, you're literally 1 block away. Somebody had to tell that QRF, no, don't go. Because they called law enforcement from all over the area. It took them almost 2 hours to get there.
Right.
You had a QRF a block away that's
Right.
at the ready.
Right, which goes to show that who's in charge is the president
Of the United States.
and he did not do anything, which meant he wanted this to
happen.
He called
That's the
for
point
it.
I was getting at, yeah.
There's a lot of different things there, but my thing is this: is that the people are going to revolt. We've seen that throughout history. When we are upset, we have the right to enact upon our voice, our opinions and our voices. And when we are wronged, we are going to speak up. We can, we will speak up if, we can. And so we don't suppress that. You politicians, right now is not a time to play with our lives. If you don't want Trump in there, please be quiet. Let's move on. Because the more you do to build your base just to get reelected, you're causing a lot more damage. And I tell you, I know we're going to give the much respect on the 20th when the transfer of power actually happens. But what's going to happen? We already did an interview. Brown Berets are going to be doing an event on the 20th, on the same day. A lot of other groups are doing events on the very exact same day. I believe that same group that rented hotels and everything that were there yesterday, that are there today, will be there on the 20th as well. They've rented all those. They're ready to put encampments out. They've already started GoFundMes and all kinds of stuff like that to be out there. President Biden, elect Biden, who will be president on that day, will have to make sure his inauguration is very secure. Don't know if they'll do it in a Zoom and in a silent place, or I don't know what their plans are. However, all of our capitals and all of our different areas, you need to make sure that you send a message that, you're not going to take any of this, this kind of behavior at this time, because we are really at a point where I believe we can see a lot of, where there are people who are going to be hurt by this, okay? We've allowed people to follow through with this base. The misinformation, the disinformation, and the conspiracy theories that have been growing have created a base that was very strong with people. And if you look at it, there are a lot of things that this group believes that this is the end for them. And we've allowed that to happen. Okay, we've allowed that belief to happen. And we have to be very, very careful. And as leaders and elected and legislators, you actually have the power to silence that by showing that you don't believe it. Which is why when we talked about the Loeffler incident, I am amazed that someone like Loeffler can actually get that far.
And she got, and let me tell you, in order for Warnock and Ossoff to win, they had the full weight of not only the Democratic Party, but grassroots organizations all throughout the country to ensure that they got, and they squeaked it. And they squeaked it because Georgia is a deeply red state. So in order to get that many voters out, I always thought that Georgia was a vulnerable state because of the demographics of its voter, especially Atlanta and Savannah and Macon, Georgia, are very urban. There's, we could get that state. It's just a slow process. I didn't expect it, to move so quickly, but it's still a very, very deeply state and deeply red state. And it's actually a very, there's a lot of separation there. I used to live in Noonan, Georgia there. So there's a lot to be worked out in Georgia. But Georgia's coming up. It has one of the most affluent black populations in the country.
Yeah, it's one of the most diverse states.
Diverse states as well. There's when I was there was a large population of Hispanics that were coming in for the peaches, doing peaches and stuff, and a lot of their kids were going to college because Georgia, if you don't know, Georgia is a free college state. So you can get your associate's degree for free in that state. So a lot of their kids were going from high school, going straight, you know what I mean? Becoming lawyers and stuff like that. So that state was for the picking. It was there. So Stacey Abrams showed the vulnerability of that state. But my point here is what is happening all throughout the country. You bring a good point too with that as well. Is we have to, the people that stormed that the U.S. not only just the U.S. Capitol, because the Michigan as well. The stuff that was happening in Michigan. Remember, they stormed Michigan as well. If you guys don't remember, they stormed the Capitol there.
Yeah, and they were going to kidnap the governor afterwards.
Yeah, and armed. They were armed. The police couldn't literally do nothing. And that was a different situation, where the police, they were maintaining order there. All these armed.
That was for masks. For masks.
It was over masks, right? And so anyway, I don't know. So,
we just have to be careful. And I watched many people yesterday, I'm talking about legislators, start off with, I don't condone that's happening.
When you hear that.
I don't condone it, it's wrong and all that stuff, but you spend 2 minutes on saying how bad it is. And then you spend 40 minutes on inspiring these same individuals to continue doing what they are doing. That has to change.
When you're challenging
that has to stop.
And when you're challenging a vote that you know there was nothing wrong. You know it. There's a reason. There were 60 court cases, right? There were 61 different court cases. There was only one procedural court case they won. One in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, and it was about a time change or something. It was just something very, I don't know what it was exactly, to be honest. It was
spatial, I think.
Whatever it was. Yeah. It was something very procedural. It wasn't like they gained votes from it. Right. It was just a procedural issue that didn't even matter. Do you understand what I'm saying? But you had 60 lawsuits.
But yeah, right. But regardless of it, I don't believe that they actually want this to happen.
Yeah.
But if they don't, they're afraid if they don't say that, they're afraid they're going to lose their votes. Look, you need to be here for our people. You need to be here for everyone. And you can see what's happening right now. That if you continue to inspire a base that is, going to go to the extent of storming the Capitol, go to the extent of entering into these legislative spaces, and you're going to continue inspiring it, you kind of need to slow down, and you need to send some messages there, or just, let's move on. We have to work together to get out of this, because after January 20th, what are we going to do? Biden's going to have to get hard at work. He can't look at re-election. He's got to look at how to solve these problems. We have a lot of problems that we got to solve, a lot. We're in a huge mess because of this pandemic, okay? And we have to fix it. We have to get life back to normal. Too many people are being hurt by it and the actions that are happening. We need to fix it. Violence is not the answer. Division is not the answer. We got to work together and move on and move forward. Accept it, okay? We accepted when Donald Trump won. He was in there. He was the president. We would not let him get away with everything. That's why he got impeached. You know, he's going to be held accountable. And Biden will also be held accountable. Follow this process. Let's go through with it. If he breaks the law, impeach him, right? Anybody, because that's what it has to be. No more lip service. I need action. And that's what we have to do. We got to hold their feet to the fire, and we got to do it. But please stop this nonsensical
Craziness.
it's happening.
Yeah.
Look, when we are wrong, we are angry. Learn how to deal with it. Bark the right way. Do the right things. Get active. Get engaged. All right?
I have
That's
been
what you gotta
wrong
do.
many a times. I have been wrong many a time,
Yeah.
been corrected many a time. I'm fine to correct myself. These people can do the same. So, and even if they don't think they're wrong, they need to just come to grips with it, because in January 20th, Biden is going to be the next president. It's just that simple. So that they need to come to grips with that.
Well,
You know,
still protest. Still do your thing.
I'm
right?
all for
But
that.
the legislators, empowering them to go further.
Yep.
Because when you don't say anything, you mean you agree.
Yep.
When the president of the United States tells them to go there, and this happens and still says nothing,
And I'm sorry,
problem.
if you're abstaining a vote, to try to not be neutral, you're doing it's the same thing.
Yep.
It's the same thing. Abstaining a vote's the same thing. So anyway,
yeah.
I know
So,
we carried on
woo,
this one.
there's a lot of stuff here to talk about, a lot of things that have happened.
I know we
We
carried
have
on
an
this
interesting next couple of weeks. Let's see what happens. Please stay safe, everybody. Wear your mask, social distance, get your vaccination if you can. Guys, we're doing the best that we can to do this. But please keep everyone safe. Be safe yourself. Try to, stay out of harm's way, not just from this disease and pandemic, but from the craziness that's happening in the politics that's happening today. Stay safe. You guys, please comment down below. Let us know what you think. Chime in, voice out, make your voice heard. Get involved in your elections, get engaged. There's so much to say. Catch you guys on the other side.